so far on the Jenkins or the pipelines. Of course, we have spent much time on the pipelines, but ultimate thing is if someone give you a pipeline open source code, or if someone asks you to write the pipeline, you should be able to write it. At least you should be able to understand the existing pipeline. I've already shared a couple of open source links. I hope that helps you to understand the basic things. But I hope ultimately you should be able to write those pipelines. Okay. Yeah. Any questions? If not, we can please let me know at the end of the session. Also, been fine. You can ask me. Okay, let's continue. This is going to be the last class for the Jenkins, and there are some things that we have to know about the Jenkins. This is an administrative perspective. Administrative perspective means you are the, this is a self-hosted, this is the self-managed Jenkins servers. Of course, there is a no SaaS product of the Jenkins. There is a SaaS product for the CI, Traverse CI, some other server, meaning if we want to work with the Jenkins, you need to download the Jenkins server and then install in on your own machine, and then you are the responsible for your own Jenkins server. That is, I mean, you are self managing things. Okay, this is a self-hosted Jenkins server and self-managed. That's why we need to know about the administrative part also. Okay, why? What are the things means, especially the security aspect of it, and the second one is the administrative in the sense like taking the backup of the existing jobs, or if suddenly Jenkins goes down, or if the Jenkins got corrupted. So what are the things you need to do, and what are the backup methods that you should be following it, and how to troubleshoot a Jenkins server. These are the things that you need to know from an administrative or managing perspective of a Jenkins. These are the things that we need to know, and we are talking about it today. Okay. Um, okay. In the first part, especially the security aspect of it, right? So the main thing is you have to manage the users. Of course, if you are an administrator, or if you are only one and only the person of managing the Jenkins, right? You are the responsible for maintaining the server, and you are the responsible for creating a user and authorizing those users also. Okay, first you have to create a users, like you know you can create a multiple users. For example, you can create users like Chandram. Password is also Chandram, and you can give whatever it may be. Like this, you can create things. What is that? Create the stuff here. So like this, okay, and you can create a multiple users like this. So you can create a multiple users, and then make sure like each user should have their own. Each user should have a permissions of their job levels or their designation levels. Meaning, right? If it is a startup company, at least you would be creating at least 3 to 4, 5 users. But if you are working in an MNC company, right, or if you got a chance to work managing 100 or 50 users in the Jenkins, right, you have to know you can't give uh, all equal access to all the members, right? You have to restrict it. For example, you are working in a company and you are responsible for multiple teams, meaning there are some teams like a DB team, backend team, networking team, or CI/CD, separate DevOps team. And there could be multiple projects also. Like this, if you are managing multiple teams, you can't give, for example, you can't allow others to access other projects. Okay, you have to give an access to only their projects, which they have created. Okay, so you have to restrict them. So how do you restrict means, basically this is, you can give a restriction or you can apply the restrictions via matrix based. Matrix based means, you can clearly mention like, which user has which permissions. The permission could be job level, project level, group level, or users level. Even if it is a job, whether job can be is the user. I mean, for example, let's take an example of Narendra user, which we have created. Is the Narendra user got create as a permissions to create a job, delete a job, or run a job, or view a job? You can you can do the stuff like matrix based. So this is one thing under the manage Jenkins, under the security, right? You have to remember one thing. Under the manage Jenkins, you find everything. Okay. Older versions of the Jenkins, you would find a different options like global security configuration. Here, just simply under the manage Jenkins security. In a older versions of the Jenkins, you would find global security, something like this. Okay. Now, under this authentication option, meaning how you are going to authenticate this particular Jenkins server. Okay, this is, you are saying security realm of Jenkins user own database, meaning whenever you create a user on this Jenkins server, Jenkins internally we use a small lightweight database. Inside a lightweight database, it is going to use its own database. That is what is in action. Okay, if I want to integrate with the existing Linux server, uh, meaning in some companies, right, they would be creating a user accounts for you, right, whenever you join a company. If you want to associate this Jenkins authorization with that particular user ID, you would provide either Unix or LDAP, meaning this is like a single sign-on. You might have heard about it. Single sign-on means you log in with the one single, I mean one sign in, and then it will allow you access to all other application. For example, in a company, they have a lot of tools. That tools can be HR related, employment leaves portal related, their OCI related, AWS related, or internal to accessing the internal to their applications, right? You would use your credentials to log into all the applications. You don't need to maintain multiple accounts and multiple passwords for multiple applications, right? That is called a single sign-on, basically. Okay, so that single sign-on could be either Unix or LDAP. LDAP is basically every MNCs would be using it out, and Unix is if you have a multiple servers only within a small organization, they would be providing it. Multiple users means, for example, you might have seen my Ubuntu username and password, right? If I use my Ubuntu username and password, it will automatically allow me to log into this if I select this option here. Okay, but let it now, this could be. And I mean, if someone asks you to integrate with LDAP or Unix based system, you have to select this. Okay, this is what I want you to know about it. Okay, next one is, okay, now you have logged in. Now you have to configure. How do you configure? Okay, I want to make sure this authorization should be with the matrix based. Okay, these are the two things that we have given here. Okay, so basically this authorization matrix based security. Okay, here matrix based security, right here. Okay, why this is okay, clear. If you see here, this is a matrix. Okay, this has the rows and columns here, and the first row is representing the levels of or different aspects or different configurations for the different components of a Jenkins server. For example, overall related, or credentials, or agent, job, run, view, source code management, configuration. All these can be given. These are the components of a Jenkins server. Okay. For example, if we take the job, a job can be workspace, read, move, discover, delete, create, configure, cancel, build, disconnect, delete. I mean, not like under the build only. These are the operations that you can do with a job, right? For example, this is the operations that you can do with this job. Here you would be finding a anonymous user. Anonymous user means what is an anonymous user? For example, um, uh, what I say, they do not have any username and password, but they have information about this particular IP address and this particular job. If they trigger a job to create or to run or to build it, it will automatically trigger it here. For example, I have selected here. Anonymous means the user or the person who does not have an access to this particular system. For example, you know this IP, okay? You already know. For example, you take Sharanya, and if you take a note about this, I mean, I'm not asking you to take, just telling you this, information, and some job. The job name could be, for example, my pipeline. And if you want to trigger this job, right, what you can do is you can easily get triggered, because even though you are not even having an access, you can easily get triggered. How do you trigger? Using a curl command, or you open a browser, or you can write some GitHub hooks. You can configure anything. I mean, you can use any of these tools and then trigger this job, because I have configured this as an anonymous user. For example, if I click uncheck off this build option, right, anonymous user build, even though he has IP address, pipeline name, and build number and everything, because I have not checked it here. Okay, next one is authenticated users. For example, whoever is been authenticated, for example, I have created 2 to 3 users, Chandra and Sharanya, and if I add them directly like this, what they can do is user ID is Chandra. Chandra can able to build a job, but he cannot cancel a job. He cannot create. He cannot configure. He cannot discover. He cannot do anything other than building a job. He cannot do anything about it. Whenever I created a new user, right, what I can do is mostly I will enable all these options, and they can create, they can view, they can configure, they can do all the stuff here. Instead of that, let me complete everything. Now I'll unselect it. Instead of read only, even I don't want to give a read access for all the things. Okay, if I give a first, let me explain all the stuff here. In the left side, right, I mean, the first one is overall, means he basically, I mean, you would understanding here, the permission, I mean, basically he has everything. If we select this administrator part, right, he can select everything. He can view the system settings, manage Jenkins, install the plugin, uninstall it. He can do everything. This is like all the permissions. Okay, now I am not giving to this, I mean, I'm not giving this access to this user, Chandra user. I'm gonna give only, right. Even he can't able to create any credentials, delete it. He cannot able to manage the domains, update also, but he can able to view it only. Under the agent, right, he can build the jobs using the agents, and he cannot configure because I have unselected here. He cannot even connect also here. I mean, let me, if I uncheck it here also, this would give you this, can connect it. Okay, this has been disabled by default, has a granted through another permission. Okay, this guy is having another permission also, fine. And he can disconnect also, he cannot do this. So he can do everything in the job component. He can do run configuration, he can view. So like this, you can check it, uncheck it based on the requirement that you do create. When do you use this? Whenever you create a new user, and if you want to apply the restrictions, you would be doing like this. So this is how you would be uh, restricting a user to access a different components or different features of the Jenkins server. Okay, and at the same time you can create a group called, for example, network provisioning team. Okay, this is a team, and this was not created. Basically we can create it also, but if that was created, we can give every permissions, like everything he can do that. But still, right, you can apply some matrix like this based on the restrictions. You can provide a permissions. Okay, since why this was not, we did not created it, we can create it. Okay, this is basically the security aspect of it. Okay, any questions on this? And one more thing is, whenever you, this may, I mean, this is an area of asking one of the question in interview also, like how do you provide a security measurement to your Jenkins server? I mean, one is a authorization, second one is disabling the other ports other than 8080. And then I mean, there are some aspects, I'll tell you those as well. Are you, I mean, are you good with this? I mean, any questions on this? You have to, whenever they ask what is a matrix based authentication or authorization in your question, I mean, in Jenkins, if someone asks like this, you can explain under the manage Jenkins, under the global security or security, we would be getting in a matrix view. Under the matrix view, we would be getting a different options like um, job level, run level, view levels, CM configuration level, credentials overall. On the columns, I mean, on the column side, we would be getting a list of users or list of groups. We can select, for example, if we want to give a permissions to a job, permissions to a user only to run a job, we can check the build option under the jobs column. So this way we can restrict authorization and to a particular user. So you can you have to walk us through the steps that you do follow if you want to configure something, if they ask the matrix based question. Okay, okay, this is, I hope, please let me know if you have any questions. We'll talk about it. And the next security aspect of it, right? Right. So this is a 8080 port. Generally, what we do is, we do create, we would be adopting most of the cloud providers. It could be AWS or GCP or Linode or, or I mean, most of the cloud providers, we would be adopting it. Okay, we will be applying a security groups, right? I mean, basically we are allowing only this port number, and instead of IP address, right, you need to give a DNS name. So that would help you, not accessing the IP addresses. I mean, that's would allow you not knowing other information other than the DNS name. So this is another security aspect of a question. For example, as I shown you here, right? As I shown you here, this is an IP address we need to we know, and 8080 port is all. They can do a nmap to scan the port, what are the ports are open on this server mission, are they open, and they will try to easily exploit if there are any vulnerability. I mean, they will get to know what process is running on. For example, what they do is, if they have any target, for example, if a hacker has any of the IP address or a target, what they do is first they do a scanning, meaning they use a nmap and scan this target or IP address. They will found what are processes are running on a particular port number and what are those are open. Open means, for example, 8080 we are started, and whoever want to access this Jenkins server, we have to open this 8080 port number. Okay, they'll get to know, okay, under 8080 they'll get to know the particular Jenkins service is running, and they will try to understand the version of a port number. Let me show you here. Nmap port scan. Let me show you here. I'm just showing you. Okay, if you are able to see here, right? See, This is an example. Let me show you this. See, sudo nmap and this target IP. Once they have done this with any of their Kali Linux or any of the Parrot OS or any of the system, right? Even nmap is also installed in Linux. We can install and then work. So what they do is they'll do a scanning about it. Scan means they'll try to uh, keep on pinging a list of port numbers, and whatever the result they got from the server, they'll tell, okay, for example, 2022 port number is open, 25 port is open, 80 is open, 110 is open. 1 minute, guys. Okay, sorry. I mean, they'll find this information, and if you see here, state is open, meaning it is open for everyone. And this is a service, and most of the time they will get to know the versions of also. Why? Because if they know versions out of it, port scan, port 88, I'll show you. See, they have something triple H HTTP proxy. This is the best way of doing it. Some people, some result they will get to know directly Jenkins. You know, yeah, Jetty. See, this is one thing they would easily understand. Yeah, under 8080 port, they are using a HTTP mode and not a HTTPS service, and it is a Jetty. Jetty is meaning a Java server is running. Probably, high probably, it is a Jenkins server. So, I mean, and the version they would be using, they'll get to know the versions also. And once they found the versions, right, what they do is Jenkins, for example, let's take this one, Jetty 9.4 exploit GitHub. They'll start looking about how to exploit of this Jetty 9.4 version. Let's see, they have information disclosure vulnerability, CVV something. And if you follow this CVV vulnerability, they'll tell you how to exploit this particular issue or this particular vulnerability under this particular one here. Okay, and let's take example. I mean, like this, the Jenkins version that you install have many of the vulnerabilities. Like, see, the Jenkins current version is 2.401.3, right? So this has a lot of issues here. So, I mean, what I'm saying is, if they found the information like this, they can exploit. This is how hacker will do exploit your target. So you have to be careful whenever you are publishing your particular job or to the external world. Especially, you can't share your information with a plain IP address. Of course, it is fine when we restart any of the server. The static, I mean, the IP address will also be get changed, but sometimes we will apply the static IP address, so it will be there for permanently. So that's why instead of using this, we should be giving a fully qualified domain name, which means or DNS name, for example, my company dot Jenkins dot com, something like that. I mean, whatever the URL. So this is the best practice of doing it, and avoid unnecessary ports. And most of the time, use custom ports instead of 8080 port. You have to use a custom ports. These are the security aspects of you would be looking at the Jenkins when you are when you are exposing your service to the outer world. Okay. Any questions, guys? Because you have to be taking the security aspects also. Another one is you have to, most of the times, right? Let me show you one more things here. What you need to do is, for example, uh, webhooks concepts. Now we are talking about, there is things. If you want to trigger this particular job, the job is semi microservice pipeline through webhooks. Webhooks means, let me show you GitHub, Jenkins webhook. What does it mean is, if some event happened on the GitHub, it will automatically trigger the Jenkins. The use case could be, if there are any merge event happened between, if some of the team members are trying to merge your branch from develop to master, automatically get triggered your build, and that should do compile, clean, install, run the test cases, package and build, and then deploy. If you want, do complete the entire setup which you have defined under your see, these are the things, right? Under your project, it will automatically run everything. Only the thing is, it has to trigger. That trigger event will be happened by the GitHub. How do we trigger? Means, if you open here github.com, for example, let's take a example of the semi microservice. This is a trigger, right? And there is only two branches, and under the development branch, I'm gonna configure some of the webhooks. That is under the settings. Yeah, under the webhooks, you would be creating add webhooks. Under the webhooks, you would be providing your, it will ask you to authenticate. Okay, here is the payload URL that you need to do. What is the payload URL? Means the job that you want to trigger from a Jenkins, from a GitHub. So for example, this is my job which I want to trigger. How do you know? Get the full, open your pipeline under this trigger build remotely, and this is your URL here. Okay, let me paste here and reconstruct this part. Okay, this is the one, right? Now what I do is, I'll construct pipeline like this. Jenkins URL means the IP address of your Jenkins server. Under the view pipelines, build token, something like this. This is how you would be giving. Example, under the jobs, build token name. How do you know the token name? Means you have to create the token name here. The token name, what you do is, and first let's go to the manage Jenkins and credentials. These are the token names here. You would be creating those tokens for a particular users, and then you give those tokens of all the stuff here. Let's do, instead of creating a plain text things, right? For example, the username and password, global username is Narendra, and password is something else, and then you would be creating this. Where is this? This only, I guess so. Okay, what you do is, this is actually ID you would be providing, or you would be providing a token name also. That, I'm not really exposing my token here now. So this one you would be giving. Okay, this, once you construct your URL, you go to the webhooks of your GitHub projects. This is the payload URL. The best thing is, most of they would be stucking at this point. Instead of application slash xww URL encoded, you would need to select this JSON part, because all Jenkins servers are REST API based communications. So REST APIs will use a JSON, not this URL. Okay, this is one you have to select. Actually, we should be copy paste this token under here, but since we are passing the token information in the URL itself, we don't need to pass here. Okay, and the next one is, when do you want to trigger this webhook? You just want to trigger when push event happen, or you can send me everything if anything happen. or let me select individual events. For example, if any branch got created, automatically trigger this pipeline, whatever you just configured here. Is it okay? Like this, it will ask you. I mean, this is the information. Okay, I want to trigger this Jenkins job once job creation is, I mean, once branch got created. Okay, this is another one. Another one is if someone has committed comments. I mean, if someone has commits on the comments, meaning when I push the comment, right, automatically it will trigger it. Now, if someone has forked my branch or my repository, it will automatically get triggered. If any issue has raised, it will automatically get created. If anyone has, you know, raise a pull request, reviews automatically get will triggered. And if anyone has raised a pull request, it will automatically get triggered. Okay, these are the a lot of events which Jenkins can be triggered for from a GitHub. Okay, now let me just do this stuff and then just add a webhooks. That's it. And then it will automatically get triggered, and then it will try to, I mean, it will try to push it, and then that's it. And it will fail it, because I mean, it will fail. I mean, if you just click on here, right, it will tell you what is the last delivery was not successful, failed to connect to host. This is the reason why. Because this is my local IP address, not this one is not available on the internet. I have connected to the my router. 19.168. Is my local series, and which won't be reachable. I thought it would be reachable because I have connected to my mobile network data for this VM, not from the host. That's why it's not reachable. For example, in real time, what you would be getting is, you would be getting a different IP address which is a publicly accessible. So if this IP is publicly accessible, it will automatically success this particular pipeline. This is how you would be configuring the webhooks. Okay, why did we talk? I think we want to talk about the security aspect, right? Now the thing is, this is how you would be constructing it, right? So instead of that, what you do is, there is another way. In the same thing here, you would be providing something like this. You would be providing username and at the right password, not at the right, yeah, and the token name that you would be creating. No. I think underscore or colon. Just let me remember the syntax here. Jenkins webhooks with secret with user name and password. Yeah, I mean, basically you would be providing the username and password, but I remember this should be something, instead of at the rate, it would be something like this. So this is how it will be. You would be copying and paste. Of course, at the end, you won't be providing a token here. Okay. And for example, if your Jenkins job is a parameterized, what you do is, you would be providing something like this. Where is that? Well, question mark. Query parameter is, for example, env. If you remember,
Uh,
env.
Narendra,
Yeah.
I believe you're not on Chrome
What is it?
because yeah,
What you are?
Except Chrome, nothing else is being visible.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you able to see my notepad?
Yep.
Okay. So, okay, I think you missed this part. Anyway, you got this pipeline, but let me explain you, because this is an important part. Okay, what I'm just telling you, this pipeline. Thanks for pointing out me, Kaushik. Okay, now this is the job. I mean, this is the job that we got from an existing pipeline, and we have constructed. And what I was saying is, instead of earlier, this is the one, meaning we just given a token username and password like this. Okay. And people, instead of creating a token, right, what they would be using is they will directly pass your username and information and password directly like this. For example, this is my username and password for this user, for this server on this 8 port number to access this job. Okay. And here, this is a plain this one, um, meaning plain job like this. And if you want to provide a plain job, means the pipeline which is not uh, parameterized. Parameter means, if you remembered, in one of the pipelines job, we are selecting the options like which branch you want to select and what environment. That is called parameterized, right? If you want to pass those parameterized pipelines, and if you want to trigger those parameterized pipelines, your pipeline should be something like this. Something under the instead of build here, right? Let me copy paste, and you would find the two versions of it. Under this, you would be providing like this: build with parameters under the environment and branch equal to dev branch here. Okay, this is how your URL would be. Okay, and you copy this, and then I hope you can see my Jenkins server, like GitHub, right? Is it clear? I just changed my screen. Are you able to see my browser now from Notepad?
Yes, Narendra, yes.
Right, cool. Okay, now this you just copy and paste your new payload URL. Okay, and that's it. Okay, this is just, once it has been successfully configured, your event will be automatically get triggered. Okay, and now if you want to check if there is any something happened, you just click on this, and then it will tell you we couldn't deliver, this failed because failed to connect to the host. And this is the payload it is sending. Okay, it is sending everything. This is the hook ID, and this is a repository, and this is the payload configuration URL, and this is the information, and it is sending every information about a particular repository. What is the repository ID? What is the name? Is it a private or public? And what are the URLs? How many commits happen? Who has subscribed? All the information it has been sending, since we have selected all events, it seems. Okay, just push event. If you select send me everything, it will be different. It will be in every hue, something like this. Okay, so just it will have a lot of other informations also here. And redelivered, yes, redelivered to this, and then 86813, this is the one. And this information has full of other information also. So like that, like this, we would be configuring the webhooks from a GitHub to Jenkins server with this custom configurations. Okay, why did we mention here? Instead of mentioning your username and password directly here, right? You would be providing your token name. So even the token name is good, but not good, I could say, because it will be a plain text. It has to be encrypted. So you have to send something like this. Why we need to care about this? Because you are going to copy and paste and then configure into the GitHub project, which is hosted by someone. So you have to be careful before publishing something on a GitHub. See, remember one thing: if you push anything in a GitHub, it is not a safety at all, even though it is a private, because it is going to be stored in some other server, right? So it's not a good thing. So that's why what they do is, even when they are publishing or when they are committing anything in the GitHub, right, they will do some pre-commit validation, that is called the pre-hooks. What they do is, and they will check each and every line of a file in your repository and find if there are any keywords like access key, secret key, username, password. They'll do scan of each and every file, and they will reject your commit before publishing or before pushing into GitHub. So on the safety side, These kind of things you would be finding especially in your banking domain projects and financial projects. Okay, but this is how it will be getting, guys. And any questions, guys? Next thing is I want to talk about backup part, administrative part also. Before going further, I mean, before going to talk about those, I want to confirmation from you guys. Is it clear or any questions? And this is also possible questions, user, I mean, scenario based questions. How do you secure your environment? And how do you configure securely of the webhooks? So they might ask you questions like this. Any questions, guys? Okay. Please let me know if you have any questions. And now the question, I mean, now the thing is, what I want to talk is backupping the part. Backup part means sometimes, right, the Jenkins servers could be crashed and it can't be able to recover also. So we have to be take care of the backup also. You know, right? Most of the times, some if the Jenkins server is very crucial for their infrastructure, right? What they do is they would be taking a backup of each and every, I mean, they would be taking of backup server on each every day. Okay, so they don't want to lose it also. That's why they will be taking a backup using some of the scripts or manually. What is meant by the backup here? So if you see here, I hope you can able to see my screen here. I open my VM. Let me know if you are able to see this. I'm opening my PowerShell now. And .168.155. Okay. So whenever you install any of the Jenkins server, it will be stored under the varlib Jenkins here. These are all the construction. I mean, these are all the files related to Jenkins. Okay. So here under the Jenkins, you would find all the information um, like what is the configuration of your Jenkins server. If you want to change the port number of your Jenkins server, you would open this config.xml and then change in that. And then what are the plugins that you have installed? What are the plugins information related one, and how many jobs, the logs, and what are the agents that you have configured, what are the secrets that you have configured. Everything will be stored under the var lib Jenkins. What they do is they'll take care of, see, I mean, they'll take care of this entire folder here itself. So even if they have done, if the Jenkins server is been crashed, right, what they can do is they can create automatically, I mean, they can spin up another new Jenkins server of a same version, and then they can directly extract your previously taken a backup file. So all our jobs will be normal. This is one way of doing it, but you have to take care of this Jenkins server. Another way, this is manually they would be doing it. Copy-r, fairlib, Jenkins, and then they'll do some other place, like they'll take a tar file or something. This is one way of taking a backup file. Another way of taking a backup file is what they do is they'll go to your Jenkins server. They'll use a plugins basically. They'll use a plugins. And the plugins, they would be providing a backup, something like this. They have some plugins, backup plugin, so they can do a periodic backup. Like they can basically configure, they can schedule a job to run on every day like this. They can directly copy it into the Google. They can take the only the jobs. So like this they can, I mean, they use the plugins, and then only specifically it will be backup everything, not everything. So this one, right, this all the Jenkins configuration files only it will be taken backup. This is Jenkins and some of the important global, especially the security secrets, username and password. These are the things would be taking a backup. Here, all local and cloud storage backups automatically restores. Meaning this, if you install this plugin, it will automatically take a backup and restore into your GitHub Jenkins plugin. Meaning restore means once you have taken a backup, you need to import it, right? You need to import it into a new server, right? So if you install that particular plugin, it will automatically take a backup from a existing server and then deploy it in the new server also. So this is another way of backupping up. Okay. And another one is in the server, right? You have to, if you want to debug, right? Under the manage Jenkins, you have to especially look at the system information. Sorry, not the system information, system logs here. This is where you need to, all the Jenkins logs will be keep on tracking under this part. For example, if you want to track only particular things, right? What you need to do is you have to create one recorder. That recorder should be all the info recorder, something like this. Once you created, it will ask you what kind of a log levels that you want to do. Meaning for each and every log, right? I mean, there are different logs, information logs, debug logs, error logs, warning logs, and these are the some of the log. We'll call it as a log. Most of the developers would be knowing it. Why? Because when they write a code, right, they need to add some debug comment, debug lines also. That debug lines could be, they'll tell you something like that. Okay, right? For example, logging levels in Java. Let's take an example of Java here. Measures here. So see here, this is a, for example, if they run any of the Java code, right, we would be finding these kind of information like a warning. This is the general information. This is a severe. This is a warning, and this something like this, right? You would be finding a different kinds of a logs here. See, this is the logs, something like this. So you would be, this would help you to write, to debug a lot of issues like this. If you want to create any of the things, you have to configure one of the log recorder. In the log recorder, you have to tell which kind of information you want to log it. Is it a finest, finer, config, only info, or warning, only severe? Or if you want only the info level, you just tell you info level log, something like this. And you want to create another log, severe log levels. And then in the severe, you would be finding here. So you just configure this. And then finally, if anything got recorded, right, what will happen is under the menu, come back again, system logs, info recorder. If it find anything, I mean, it did not find anything because we did not executed it. Like this, you can create your log recorder and then say something. And if you want to see all the logs, right, you would be finding all the information here itself. Okay, this is the directory and this is the information. So you would find all the information about the logs here, what it is doing and everything. This is one way of debugging things. This is a, this we can debug using a Jenkins UI. But what if you want to log in or debug with the something? Vi var lib Jenkins logs tasks. And if you want to look at any workspace or periodic things, this is one way of opening a log. Major important thing is var log Jenkins.log file. No, why it's not presented? Log Jenkins here. Okay, it's not been presented here, but generally it should be something, at least there is a Jenkins log file. Okay, info recorder. I mean, these are the log recorders that we just created it, but generally there should be logs, Jenkins.logs file here. Not another slaves also. These are the Jenkins log. I mean, the slave configuration logs. But there is a Jenkins log file. Generally, that should be under the var logs only. Okay, anyway, we did find it here, right? Home directory. This is a cache. Cache var. Okay, fine. Okay. This is a etc default Jenkins, right? etc default Jenkins. Let's try to open. Generally, it should be var log Jenkins slash Jenkins.log. Okay. Okay. This is a configuration about it. Wait. Yeah. Var log name. See, this is under the system log. This is where the logs will be. Var log name Jenkins slash Jenkins.log. I don't know why it has been not been presented. But I mean, if you want to configure something or change any of the Jenkins settings, right, this is the place where you can come and see. Now I'm looking more interested into the where log Jenkins. Yeah, nothing was created basically. There is somewhere actually been stored. Jenkins log file. So, I mean, I just want to show you with the information. See, I mean, whatever you are running, right, everything will be tracked under that log file. So this, I mean, this is one way of finding about the logs also, where you can troubleshoot your issue. Yeah, mostly this is main important part about it, troubleshooting the issue or Jenkins server. It should be under the var log on default. It depends on the specific issue. I mean, sorry, the specific dbin. I mean, specific distribution versions. Okay. Any questions on this, guys? Because I want to show one more thing before doing it. I want to show the one more a Jenkins server, which was been going to be dismantled, meaning which I work for one of the consultancies. So I'm going to show you how a real a Jenkins jobs looks like. I mean, how a Jenkins server, how many jobs could be, what is the length of it, so that you would find everything information. I'll show you. But before going that, I want a confirmation. Is it clear? Because this is the last class, and I have given you all the information which I've known, especially the pipelines and all the backup and administrator related. So I want a confirmation now. Is it clear? Any questions on that? Before going forward, I want a confirmation, guys. Can you please confirm me on this? Sandhya, Kaushik, Kiran, Sainath, Sharanya, Tejashwi. Where is Nanda here? Sandeep, did Nanda didn't join today? Okay, fine. So please, I want a confirmation, you guys. Yeah. Okay, right. Okay, thanks, Kiran. Yeah, right. Okay, now let me show you one of the Jenkins server here. Okay, this is the Jenkins server which I have worked for one of the consultancies. What they have done is they have a lot of Jenkins jobs here. Each one could be a different thing related to the Kubernetes, Docker, Windows-based, .NET-based applications, and a lot of things they do have related to AWS. I mean, they have deployed in AWS and GoDaddy, a lot of it's related to the development, it's related to the production environments. They would be getting a lot of different information here. Okay. Uh, so I'm just show you this is a view. If you want to click on here something like this is a job related to the Angular application, and if they want to deploy something, they would be finding all the information here. So what is the problem? I'll show you now. Why you can't able to see the build says, what they have done is they are running a 2.2.2 version, which is a very old. What is the problem is they recently restarted the server, and once they restarted, it's not able to properly load all the job configurations, because right, the plugins they have installed has some complaints, meaning, um, for example, if they want to load related to this, I mean, see the error. Some plugins couldn't be loaded due to unsatisfied dependencies. Fix these issues and restart the Jenkins to re-enable these plugins. Because of these plugins is not enabled, the jobs that I've just shown you is not properly populating it, meaning the job definition was not properly configuring on the UI. But if we go to the server and open those configuration file in the in XML format, right, what is showing is it is showing everything. But only the problem is, for example, if I have write something related to Maven plugin, okay, so the jobs that I have used this plugin in the jobs, right, it won't show you the Maven related commands at all, because this plugin is not populated. Okay, why? Because this is saying, hey dude, you required a 2.2.8, I mean 289 version of it, but you are running 2.2.2 version, because you have to upgrade this plugin, then only I can able to show you. Either you update it or fail it. I mean, please, you can't able to use it without updating. That's why it's not able to load. Okay, so this kind of why we have shown is you should have a habit of updating your plugins, because some of the plugins will have some issues, could be security related. Some of the world, I mean, they won't be supporting the older versions of it. They won't have a backward compatibility if they want older version of it. So you have to be careful and up to date while importing, and I mean while using the plugins. Okay. Yeah, this is what I want to show an example as maintaining of a Jenkins server. Okay, so this is the older UI of the Jenkins of 2.2.21 here. So now I have a task related to, we have to update this Jenkins server and then migrate these plugins, I mean migrate these Jenkins jobs to a new dev server. So this is the one I'm gonna use it, but not now for this as well. Any questions on this, guys? Assuming no questions, please let me know if you have any questions. Time to ask questions. Tomorrow we would be starting a new tool. I was thinking to start either Docker or AWS or JFrog. JFrog is or Nessus. We will use this, required only 1 hour of session. Most probably I'll start JFrog. Otherwise, we'll start the AWS. Because why the AWS or Docker? Because I know, right? If we start directly to the Terraform, right? We would be creating some of the uh, infrastructure. I mean, we would be creating some EC2 missions or some other missions in AWS cloud using a Terraform without knowing AWS, right? If we are directly teaching with the Terraform, or if we are learning with the Terraform, we would be in confusion state. So first we learn the AWS part, and then we will apply. We will learn the Terraform. In the Terraform, we will learn how to create a AWS instances using a Terraform. So this would you will understand. So this way you would learn how to create a things in a manually in AWS environment, how to create a resources in using a Terraform in AWS. So we learn two ways of it. That's why we need to know about it. And the Docker, right? Docker, why we thought of starting Docker is also is Sometimes we are getting a Docker related tasks, Docker related scenarios. So I thought of telling you that that would help you to capture. But necessary is we have to know about the AWS before starting a Terraform. Okay, these are the some of the things, guys. Any questions on this? Probably we'll be starting mostly JFrog or Nessus tomorrow. Otherwise, AWS. I'll tell you. But if it is a JFrog, it is only 1 hour. We will be knowing it. Any questions, guys, so far? Assuming. Okay, cool. Okay, guys, that's it from my side. Let's meet tomorrow at the same time, like 7:30. Thank you, guys.